Hi, welcome back to Channel 6 TV, Community Focus here in Nelson County, and glad you could join us. I'm Kenny Fogel, and we're going to talk a little bit right now about where you are in the world and where we are in the world and how we're going to find you in case we need to get a hold of you. We got Debbie Carter and David Evans here with us, and they're going to tell you a little bit about what they do, and basically they're the people that you really need to know, or they need to know you, because if something's happening in Nelson County and around it. First of all, Debbie Carter, you're your title, I guess, I would say the head of the dispatch office.
Dispatch director.
Dispatch director. So basically, when you're the dispatch director, you're the person responsible if something goes wrong in Nelson County. I'm going to pick that phone up and dial 911 or 3211 or something of that nature.
Sir.
It's going to ring in your office, and somebody in there better know what they're doing when the phone call comes in.
And hopefully our map knows what it's doing.
And hopefully the map knows where you are.
That's correct. That and the phone system. So I've been here since August of 2011, and we started, as soon as I got here, working on the map. And the reason why we started working on the map immediately was to become Phase 2 compliant with wireless calls. And what that means is that the cell companies have to have, there's Phase 1 and Phase 2, and they have to be able to plot a location for a caller within a certain range. So we've been working on that ever since then, and we will continue to work on it forever.
Well, I knew that was the horror story years ago, because used to the landlines you could pinpoint a landline pretty well, but a cell, it might bounce off a tower, might be in a LaRue County, it might be somewhere else, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint where a wreck is. When somebody calls in, they're usually a little frantic, so I know you depend on this technology.
Well, plus, you're looking at, the most beautiful small town in America, so, we want to get as much tourism as we can. Folks aren't familiar with the area, so they don't really know if there's not a specific street sign or road sign for them to tell us where they are. So a lot of times we have to kind of decipher that by landmarks, which works pretty well most of the time, but you're right, in an emergency situation, people don't think about all that.
Okay, well, we don't know how the bird flies or anything like that anymore, do we, David? You got a system now, the GIS system. You tell us a little bit about how you can find where my house is.
That's correct. Well, we do have quite a comprehensive map of the roads and addresses that exist here in the county, and I'm responsible for maintaining that map, that is collecting that information, making sure that it is all compliant with the National Emergency Numbering Standards, and where it isn't, actually changing those addresses so that they do comply with those standards. And I've been working with Debbie since September last year to try and ensure that the last few remaining addresses do meet those standards so that we can pass an audit that is going to take place this June. The audit is actually being tied to the funding that 911 gets. So it's very important that we do pass this audit.
Well, I know most people now, of course, 10 years ago we were laughing about this. Now it's a reality, a GPS. Everybody's got one in their car when they go on a trip. Even when they go around town where they're unfamiliar, they've got a GPS. This GIS system is important because the GPS, I guess, depends on what the satellites tell them. And if the satellites don't have the correct information, you're going to get lost.
That's right, yes. And
we don't want the fire department lost. I mean,
no, we don't. Or the ambulance.
Yes, the fire department, they might be able to see your house if there's an emergency because they'll see the smoke coming out. But if it's a heart attack or some other kind of emergency, then those telltale signs might not be there.
Well, Debbie, I know there's a lot of talk about, now, you mentioned a few minutes ago about how many people are covered already. We have correct addresses, but there's still people's pockets of the county, even roads don't have a name. I mean, how do you change all that?
Well, that's what David and I are really working together. You hit the nail really on the head when you were talking about the cell calls, because when 911 was created, there were no cell phones. It was all landlines, so it was fairly easy. Everything went by the master street address guide, and we knew where to route the call. So now with cell phones, all that's changed. So what we're doing is taking private driveways, because we have some in the county a mile long. I mean, it's half a mile long, you know. So for a responder to be going down a main thoroughfare and to know that this is a driveway that has 1 or 2 or 3 residences or just a driveway, there's no way. So we're taking that information, going door to door. I have Sheriff Mattingly with Nelson County. He and his guys have been great. Fire departments have been great. All responders going out, trying to solicit this information. The folks are calling us, and we're trying to get their input on a road name that they would like to have. Then I give that information to David. We get the letters together, send them out. He notifies the post office and other entities that we can ahead of time about address changes, and that's what we've been doing.
Well, I know when I was raised, I was on Route 2, box something or another.
Right.
We're not doing that anymore.
No, we're not doing that anymore. No, we need a road name, and we need the addresses to be, as they say, to have a smart map, so that you know that left is on the odd is on the left and the even are on the right. It's everything's about seconds for us.
And the thing is too, obviously, pinpointing somebody. Now, again, you mentioned cell phones.
Yes.
Somebody might be out in the woods.
Yes, and obviously we're in a rural area, and that's very likely to happen, and we've experienced those kind of calls. I don't know if you recall or not, but maybe 2 or 3 years ago, we had a lady that was in a car accident, and the car had gone over a big hill, and she hadn't. Of course, she had no idea where she was.
Yeah.
And so we continue to. We have a system within 911 that's called rebid, and what that is you continue to rebid a call, and as you get closer to the call, especially if they're mobile, then it will alert you to where they are. So what we did, I think, in this particular situation, and we've done other times, are go through the cell companies and have them ping that phone so that we can continue to try to monitor that. And I'd say that was very stressful. I mean, there were all kind of responders out there on foot for hours trying to find this lady. So it happens, and it's going to continue to happen.
It's going to get worse. I used to think NCIS was a TV show on time. I guess it's Nelson County Information System.
I like that.
Just made something up there. But yeah, we see all this technology that they do throughout the world, but we have it right here. You work with it every day, don't you,
Yes,
Dave?
he does.
That's right, yes. I work with a computerized mapping system that has all the road center lines, all the address points that we've collected over the years. People have actually been out with a GPS collector and shot those points in. We just now need to make sure that all those house numbers are following the correct format, and that the roads, the private roads that Debbie and you referred to, are all named. And I've got a couple of examples here.
Yeah, hold on. We'll just see. I don't know if Gary can zoom in on these or not, but what exactly does that map represent?
Okay, so here's a street. It's somewhere out in the county. You notice that the house numbers, you've got odd and even on both sides of the street, and they go up in sequence and then loop back around. Now that is going to throw the computer system that the dispatch people use to route that ambulance.
So we don't want that, right?
Fire truck
we don't want that.
through a loop, because it can't handle information in that format. What we want it to be in is in this pattern, where we've got all the odds on the left side, all the evens on the right, and they go up from the start of the road where you turn off from that intersection. The lowest numbers are at that end, and the highest numbers are at the other end. And that is what's called NENA compliant addressing, which is what we're moving towards. And then we've got another example here. This is fairly typical when you get out into the county. We've got a private road where these numbers here are addressed off this road here. What the problem is if you're standing here looking at this road, you might see this address here, but you're not going to see these other two. They're hidden behind the hill or for the woods. So we need to actually give this private road a name so that when the responders are trying to find you, they know that they're going to turn off onto this road and that your address is going to be...
Will that be their new address then, post office and everything? I mean, really?
Their new address will be one of these numbers, which you can see are quite different from the numbers...
Instead of off Kentucky 150, you'll now be Leslie Ballard Road or something like that.
Exactly right, yes. And we will notify the post office of these address changes. When we do change the addresses, we notify the post office, we notify the PVA, We also notified the City of Bardstown utilities, so those are all taken care of. People will still
Don't notify people I owe money to. Or anything like that.
I've heard that before.
You will still need to notify any other people or services that you receive mail from, so your banks, your credit card companies, your school districts. But we try to make the process as painless as possible. We understand that it does cause some disruption, but it's no different from if you moved house and you were changing your address, having to notify all your people, agencies you receive mail from in those kinds of circumstances.
Okay, well, I know Nelson County is a huge county. I mean, you covered a lot of
460 some square miles.
460 some square miles, and there's a lot of hidden. I mean, I've lived in this county all my life, and there's still spots every now and then that I've never been in. So that's a monumental task you're taking on.
I tell you, David's really very, very good to work with. We've gotten a lot of support, and I'll be honest with you, I take a lot of those phone calls from folks, and there are some folks that are upset, and I totally understand that, but by far the majority of them really do understand. They may not like it, but they really understand it and have been very
Well, they've been at 101 Main Street for 80 years, and now they're going to...
Absolutely, and I totally understand that.
Yeah.
But all in all, it's not been that bad of a process.
Is this something that's going on statewide, or is it just, we're all just happening at?
Everywhere. It's across the country. I did an interview a few weeks ago, well, we did, with WDRB, and the lady that was talking there said that her parents lived in a rural route in Illinois for 40 years, and they just got a 911 address.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's everywhere.
Speaking of 911, I know that's a big issue as well. Are we working okay with cell phones now? Is that transition going pretty well? Or?
You know, yes, the problem right now, honestly, is the computer-aided dispatch system that we work with, which you call in and we type in a location, it comes up and tells us where it is and tells us who to send, okay? It does not recognize address points, which is what David's working on. It may give us a road range, but it doesn't give us the point. So in order to pass this audit that he referred to this summer, and in order for us to be able to find people within a certain range, we have to have another system. So that's what I'm working on now. Just signed the contract a week ago.
Yeah.
So we're going to have that implemented by June 1st, and what it will do honestly is when you call 911 and we pick up the phone, that location will plot on the map, and it'll automatically give us the lat and long, the longitude, latitude, which will, because he has that's an attribute in the map, and then it'll tell us where it is.
Now, is this what's called the enhanced 911, or what is that? What's the difference?
Basic 911 truly was just caller ID. That happened many years ago. Enhanced 911 gives you the caller's location.
Okay.
So that worked fine until cell phones came in. So now you have phase 1, phase 2, and now you're going to have next gen 911 that's going to be coming up. We won't even want to get into that.
No, I was going to say, just as you get that one in, they'll come up with something else.
Well, of course, absolutely.
Everybody have a chip in them someday. I don't know.
That's not a bad idea.
Well, it's happening. It's going to happen. Then you're really going to have a job if you track people all over the place. Well, like I said, it's amazing what you're doing here right now. Like I said, now what do you have to do to study this? What kind of education you have to?
Well, I actually went to college originally to study environmental science, and GIS, or Geographic Information Science, was a class that I had to take as part of that, and I kind of realized that was actually a very interesting subject, covered subjects that I was interested in, specifically computers and mapping, and I just decided, that's what I wanted to pursue, and I got this job just last year, not too long after getting out of school to study that, and it's been a really enriching and rewarding job. I enjoy my work, even though it can be tough at times dealing with all this information. I feel like this is what I am best doing. So it's a very interesting field.
Well, I can see where it gets into a lot of things. Like I said, emergency crime and things of that nature. I'm sure that's something you may not get into it a lot around here, but you could.
Applications, there's utility GIS, and there's looking at how we can improve our infrastructure, make sure that we can support our growing community, and keep up with the latest developments in emergency response and everything. So it's a field that will continue to evolve and develop, and there will always be a need for it. So.
Okay, well, you see the map a little differently than the rest of us see.
That's one thing I was going to say, that not only is David working on what we have to fix, but he has to maintain what's the future. Yeah. So when there's new construction, new plats, new things, then he has to be involved in that as well. It's a living document. It will never, ever, ever be finished.
Well, that's amazing what you're doing. Like I said, it's just advancing by leaps and bounds. And David Evans, we appreciate what you're doing there at the City of Bardstown. Debbie Carter with the dispatch office. Like I said, I know we both depend on you every day. We don't realize how much we depend on them every day, but we do. And we're glad you're there when we need us. So appreciate you all taking the time out of your day to come in here and show us this. And again, the address is very important. We ask you to make sure your address is up to date. Obviously, they're going to keep track of that, but also have your address listed on your house as visible as possible. I know I've heard that happen on several occasions. The fire department does their best to find you, but if they're flying by pretty quick, they want to be able to see that number, and it's pretty important if you're having a heart attack that they show up on time.
Yes, sir.
So again, we do appreciate everything you're doing, and keep up the good work.
Thank you for the time. We appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back here in a few minutes with more Community Focus here on Channel 6 TV. We'll be right back.